Welcome to Emotional Sobriety.
It's New Year's Eve, 2023. I'm here with Carol Carter, Alan, and Thom. And I thought we would go around and talk about what emotional sobriety has meant for us personally at the end of a year, going into a new year. Maybe we start with Carol.
You've been one of the first. You were there when I started to really get into this stuff and talk about it. And, it just like it did to me, it resonated so deeply into your experiences in life and also seeing, and I think that's what this podcast today is about, is to really seeing the value that this can bring to our lives, right? The perspective, the possibilities that it creates. So I am so glad that we're finishing the year with you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here too. It's a special day, and it's been a special journey with you.
Well, it really has, Carolyn. That's why I think that you are the ideal guest for us today.
Well,
Because
thank you.
I feel like if we joined a line of hands, you would be one of the first hands I'd be holding in this line.
Oh, thank you.
As you were. I mean, it's right from the beginning that you resonated to this stuff. And, we've been kind of soul mates ever since this whole thing has started and resonated.
Yes,
And you've been here in this very difficult time I'm facing. And I know you feel the same with me that I've been there for you. So
absolutely.
it's really great to be able to share this topic. And that's why I suggested to Patrick when we're starting this is a good time for us to look back and what has emotional sobriety meant for us on a personal level. We talk so much about it professionally, and I love all that stuff. And that's all relevant and important for people to get the picture of this, the concepts related to it, the ideas and stuff like that. But it's also important to hear how it gets integrated, right, into
Yes.
how we live our lives, into what we're experiencing in terms of how we're experiencing it and how we're meeting the ongoing challenges. I was even talking to you about one before we started, another thing that's happened this weekend, another opportunity to try to get my center of gravity back, and you were helping me get perspective on it. I mean, that's what this is all about. So I'm, like I said, I am so appreciative of who you are and what you bring to this and how you've added. And I've got a smile on my face because I remember when you sang for the first time.
Yes,
It,
I do too.
it was one of those moments of, wow, this is amazing what we're doing and creating here, and the courage that you found in yourself to sing that night was just moving. And I'm like I said, it's sitting inside of me with a big smile.
And
To the
your kindness and wisdom in inviting me to sing week after week after week until I no longer have any fear of singing in front of anybody anywhere. What a
wonder.
journey just that piece has been.
Yes, that piece has been. But so what has this year been like for you? And what is some of the things you've been? I know we're limited in time today, but
Well, it's been really one of the biggest years of my life. I was working at a fintech through the beginning of May, and I made the decision to retire. I loved that job. I was having fun, but I was also working so hard that I couldn't hear my own voice. And I
hmm,
had a very strong sense that this was my moment to jump off the merry-go-round and really get to know myself in a way I haven't had the opportunity to in 48 years or ever. But I had worked 48 years. So leaving a job that I still enjoyed doing to put myself first was huge. I couldn't have done it without our emotional sobriety meetings. I crashed right after because overworking was an addictive feature of my personality. I was very attached to that. And I crashed for a minute because I hadn't thought of what to put in its place yet. And then it's been a journey of self-discovery, and so many things have opened up for me. As you mentioned, it was probably 2021 when I sang in our meeting one night and mentioned that my throat had been closed off for 50 years. And suddenly I found the wherewithal to sing a song in front of a couple hundred people. And I broke through something that night. And the support in that meeting, this the space of love and security that all of you created are, and you mentioned this, Alan, how we help each other. The fellowship is so real. It's such a major part of the feature of these meetings. It's not just stuff we listen to. We're really there for each other. And we find just as something's ready to bubble up, we create a space for each other, a good, beautiful, safe space. And because we've been working on our stuff for so long, we're good processors together and supports for each other. But anyway, I found my voice a couple of years ago. That helped me toward this place of deciding it was okay to retire and spend time with me. I've been truly integrating that I'm the one I've been waiting for. And just a recent success, I went to Christmas at my daughter's and spent a couple of days with her in-laws, whom I adore. But I'm always aware of self-criticism, a little body dysmorphia, and some other things going on. This time, I was 100% free of all that.
Wow.
I carry shame in my abdomen. I have since I was 9 years old. Didn't have any special unique feature to my abdomen at 9, but I carried shame there. I had a very weight conscious family. And so even if you weren't overweight, there were things projected on you. And so I tend to look for large tops that carry my now larger abdomen than it was at 9. And I try to hide under that layer. And this time I picked things that I felt were okay looking and didn't worry about how far down the top went. And when I heard, oh, wait, they'll see my tummy, not, like the extra layer won't be over my slacks. I thought, and if they don't like it, they can look the other direction. I mean, I really am free from that now. This was new. This is new information that I got to experience at Christmas. I just got to go be me and trust that the people I was with wanted to see me. And they weren't spending their day critiquing me. And if they were, that was about them, but that wasn't my experience. I had a great time. So I'm just seeing new, wonderful things. And, Alan, you and I've done some fun, unexpected, spontaneous work around finding my decision points in some areas that have been behavioral challenges. So I got to learn recently the decision I made. I found the moment I decided that I would hide myself in overweight. And now that I've heard that point, I can hold my hand from that time and guide myself back out. And I'm finding every day tiny little decisions that are new and different since that point. And I've heard it in a couple of other areas of my life.
We talk about emotional sobriety as freedom, and when I hear that, I just hear so much freedom.
I am free.
Yeah.
I am free.
Yeah.
I'm also re-engaged in my life in a passionate way that I haven't really felt since I was like a 14-year-old with a new guitar. I am taking time to find out what I want to do. I just turned down a consulting gig 2 days ago. It was something I could easily do. Mm-hmm. But I said, let me just take the night to think about this. And I realized I don't have passion about it. And I think I'm done doing things that I don't have passion about. And what I'd rather do is spend time playing my guitar. I don't know. I am feeling an unexpected joy and freedom, and I am deeply grateful that we have this group. And I'm also grateful to be here today with you guys because I have gotten to know Patrick so well and have such deep affection and respect for Patrick. Thom and I go back 20 years. I have great love and respect for Thom. So I can't think of a better day to celebrate what this year has been for me.
Mhm.
And I thank you all for
Right
being
back at
part of
right
it.
back at you for that, Carol. We love you.
Thank you. And we've had some fun this year too. Thom and I did a couple of workshops that were fun
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
got to know each other even in new ways there. And
Yeah, when you want to
anyway,
get to know each other, Alan and I know this. Plan a workshop together. If you want to have the experience of how different personalities we can have, and how they can work together, and
beautifully
that's
together.
we figured it out, or it happened, or something.
I'll
And I
never forget
think
the first time I met Thom. He comes into my hotel when we were planning to, because we just got together to plan the workshop the night before we were doing it. So he comes up, he says, "I've got my PowerPoint." I said, "Oh, you do? Let's see it." He holds up his hand. It's right.
Yeah, here it is.
The classic Thom move.
Oh my God. I go,
Mhm.
oh boy, this is going to be fun.
And I
PowerPoint confuses me.
Well, what do you think, Thom? Do you want to talk about what emotional sobriety has meant for you, especially going into the new year?
So we're talking about like kind of an overview of the past year.
Past
Or
year. We're talking about overview of the past year. Yeah.
well, this has been a an eventful year for me and for us, for Dee and I. Medically, we're both used to being healthy people, and Dee Dee had a major back surgery early in the year, and a fairly lengthy recovery from that. And before that was over, then I was diagnosed with cancer, and we started the cancer treatment. Um, I, you always, I can't tell stories without good hindsight, because when I try to give insight while I'm in the middle of something, you know, I got good bullshit, so I can make it sound right. But it's like, I'll tell you this story down the line. I'll tell you what I've already told in this podcast is I'm doing much better. I'm doing much better physically. I'm doing much better emotionally in every way. Um, but um, but I lost my shit, this year in the middle of all this stuff. After, thinking I really thought, because they told me it was an easily or successfully treatable cancer, that meant it was easy. Now I tell anybody I say that to who's had cancer before, they just start laughing at that point. Because they know the punchline with that. There is no easy cancer, and if there is, there's no easy cancer treatment. But it's like in the middle of that, I lost my shit. If I don't. There was a period in there where I'm sure that just the words emotional sobriety didn't even occur to me. And I have, and then it's sort of like we say in the program, I came to, and started to take stock of what was going on, and started to have those conversations with people that are supporters of mine and who are close to me and I trust, and I began to put things back together, and and which mainly turns out to be taking responsibility for myself, which I think is there's probably 1,000 different ways to nutshell emotional sobriety, but that's as good as any, which is just being fully responsible for ourselves, being good, solid, effective adults. And so all of that, what I know. Here's the thing. What I know from my experience up to this point is the fact that what I'm not doing is I'm not beating myself up for what I just described. I mean, the idea is I'm somebody, and I know a lot of people can identify with this, where I for years and years, I would beat myself up in layers. I would beat myself up, and then I would beat myself up for beating myself up. and I could, keep going on from there. And so the idea that, I mean, I honestly can say this to you guys and anybody else who's listening, that I lost my shit, didn't know what emotional sobriety meant for a while in there. And it's like, you talk about shaming your gut, Carol. It's like, I don't feel any shame about it. I just feel like I'm reporting that. That's what was going on. That's and I'm not saying it wasn't. I couldn't have done better. I'm sure. Absolutely I could have done better than that. But that's not what matters right now. What matters right now is we're sitting here today together, and that I'm back on the horse, and I've got, and I don't think that I have anywhere come close to learning all the lessons that I probably accumulated to learn in the last year. I am, because we kind of superstitiously, do this year thing where, I like the idea of a fresh start. With a new year, of course that's an illusion anyway, but it's a nice illusion, and I like it. So like I say, for Dee Dee and I, 2023 has been a tough one. It's been a wake up call about our own aging process. It's been a wake up call about our own mortality, and we can put all that to good use, and that's what I plan to be doing in 2024. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate all three of you.
Well,
Love you, Thom.
I love you, Thom. And yeah, this year has been the Empire Strikes Back of the emotional sobriety universe. It's the dark one where I don't know who's the one who gets frozen in carbonite, but yeah, it's been very challenging.
Listen, but you guys can't see it out there, but see, Thom, I can see the tears in your eyes about how much gratitude you feel. You're not a guy that cries a lot of times. I mean, I've known you for a while now, but I know how deeply you feel everything. And I just want to recognize your gratitude and your appreciation and being a part, like Carol has said, and we were talking about, but while you're gone, how important these relationships have become to each and every one of us.
Yeah,
man. So,
absolutely.
look,
Absolutely.
I know, man, I love you, and I'm here with you, and it's amazing what we've had to deal with and struggle with this year. It's been quite a challenge for all of us, and every one of us in this room has had our crosses to bear this year.
Yes.
And we've done it, and we've done it pretty fucking well, even though we all lost our shit at points in this thing.
We sure did.
But Patrick, go ahead. Empire Strikes Back.
Well, yeah, I was done with that point, but I was going to say about losing the lessons and having to relearn them, and what you mentioned about that, Thom.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that myself, and emotional sobriety for me feels a bit like a medicine ball that I'm balancing on. And sometimes I slip, and, it takes me some time to kind of like regain my footing and regain my center of gravity. Because, I've heard Alan describe emotional sobriety. One way of describing it is bringing the best possible attitude to every facet of life or every event that we encounter. And I have not brought the best possible attitude always to or even often sometimes to life's hooks and jabs. And but like being aware of that and reporting that, like you said, Thom, and just trying to kind of shorten that time between the stimulus and the response, the emotionally sober response.
Time, shorten the response time. That's a measure of recovery. It's like, how long, I'll ask people, how long does it take? It used to take you to recognize stuff like this, and they would say like, well, I never recognized it before, or it might take a month or a year or longer than that. You said something I think is really important for all of us to be reminded of, and for people listening to get is about the relearning. It's like, because that's when those of us who have those mean, nasty should monsters in our head, when we are learning a lesson and we realize this is the umpteenth time we're learning that lesson. It's really a place, an opportunity for that should monster to come in and say, you see what a dumbass you are. This is what, it's like bullshit. I have a friend of mine, a mentor really of writing years and years and years ago, was the first one I ever heard this line from. I don't think it's original to him, but writing is rewriting. And I'll translate to what we're talking about here, and that is learning is relearning. You know, the idea, and the truth is repetition is the key to mastery. Repetition is the key to anything, to becoming good at anything. And so how many times am I willing to learn this lesson? As many fucking times as it shows up, you know, and is that an okay way of learning? Absolutely. You know, it can be frustrating. I could wish I was faster at it. I wish I could had incorporated that or put that one to bed. But it's like, you know, I think my belief system is that we're here on this earth to learn, to be better human beings, to be the best personal human being we can be, and part of that is being willing to look honestly at ourselves, and part of that is being able to basically do what we're doing today, which is tell on ourselves, not in a negative way, but just telling. Let me tell you about me.
Well, I can look at, the three of you here in this Zoom room as evidence that the garden of my life, I've been tending it okay, because I'm the type that in the absence of evidence from the last 5 minutes, my mind will go to a pretty dark place. But I can point to multiple times this year where Carol's reached out to me for a check-in, or for a positive reminder of something, when I've been far from any kind of positive feeling on my own. And I could say the same for Thom. I remember when you were going through your treatment, Thom, you sent me this wonderful email with like a story idea that by the way, we're gonna have to return to in 2024, because I'm super stoked on it. But like these call outs or these contacts would not be possible had I not been, or they would not be present in my life had I not been tending my garden and kind of, cultivating these relationships with you guys, to the extent where you would think of me, you know what I mean? Where we've got some, connection. And I hope to continue that process, despite however dark I may feel, beneath it all. Just one good foot in front of the other, as they say.
Absolutely.
We can all go dark. I just love that we're all here for each other.
Yeah, well, that's the community that we're creating. And look,
Yes.
more than ever, so I'll share a little bit about what this year has meant for me. I just realized I took such a deep breath as I started to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like you said, Thom, it's really been, well, my whole life blew up this year. That's the only way to say it. It's like one of those 500-pound bombs was dropped in the middle of my existence. And the initial response, I was devastated. As you know, Thom and Patrick and you, I mean, I was in a very, very dark place. I never imagined, talk about, being naive. I never imagined that this would be taking place at this point in my life and the way it did and how it went down, and to deal with being betrayed and gaslighted and all these other things, and then to have these two beautiful little girls, to see them injured and devastated by this whole thing was excruciatingly painful for me, especially that it resonated with my childhood trauma. And that's part of what happened this year. And as I started to crawl my way out of that crater, and I mean, it was literally crawl, you get up a few feet and then all of a sudden you're sliding back from the loose dirt in the crater, right?
Yeah.
And, eventually I'll just never forget the thing you said to me, Thom. It makes me want to cry. You said to me, Alan, you're in a shaft and there's no light and you can't see any. And there's a 90-degree turn ahead of you. It may be close, it may be far. We don't know how that is. But I'm on the other side of that shaft, and there's light where I'm standing. At least at that time, the light was still on, Thom. It was the change for you too. But
yeah.
But what you said though is that you can't see the light, Alan, but hear my voice and just keep walking towards my voice.
Walk toward the voice, man. Just It's yeah, and
Okay,
I even have the sign on my wall that says, just because you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel doesn't mean there's not one. It's like these tunnels are not straight. They do have lots of turns, and you're not gonna be seeing the light all the time. But it's like, I remember saying that to you, and I remember just saying, just keep coming toward, and it really could be just our voices. Just keep listening and know that we're here. Yeah.
You've taken this crisis as an opportunity to dig so deep into your own experiences, your past, um, not just having to do with your marriage, but your time in the service and some of the trauma that you endured as a young man. And you really have practiced what you preach. You really tried to bring the best possible attitude to the experience that you were going through. And I've found it to be inspirational. And we're all going to have these dark seasons, these dark chapters of our lives. And I hope to bring that kind of level of vulnerability to my experiences as you have. So I really
Amen.
appreciate you, Alan.
Amen.
well, listen, what we say sometimes, if we embrace our suffering in the right way, that it can be of value to other people and it can become a sacred wound. And I hope I'm on that journey to someday convert this into
Mm-hmm.
a sacred wound. It's still a very much a wound for me. And I am
Mm-hmm.
still working very hard and trying to figure this thing out. And it has meant a lot to me. I've dealt with stuff this year that I haven't dealt with before in my life. And it's really been important, man. I'm like you, Carol. I'm starting to see that, in some areas of my life that I haven't had the personal freedom that I enjoy in so many other areas of my life, I might be able to integrate this and experience it in all my affairs, like we like to say, right? Is
Right.
to experience it, in my most intimate relationships. The other thing I realize is I am a damn good father. I love these girls, and I know I am giving them an experience that's similar, but I think even with a little bit more wisdom sprinkled on it than my father gave me, because
Mm-hmm.
they are dealing with their feelings. They talk to me about what they're experiencing, what they like, what they don't like, what upsets them, what bothers them. And my God, at 5 and 10 years old,
That's
I
remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
I was mute. I was mute. I wasn't able to
Oh
talk
yeah.
any of these things. And for them to come to me and said, my God, I'm so upset with mom, right? She's worthless to me today. I mean, my God, I could have never said that about my mom or my dad, or I'm really angry. Dad, I'm so hurt. Can you give me a hug for a while? I mean, God, I would have never asked for those things.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I am so grateful for is that there's an atmosphere here with them. Maybe because they've seen me be so vulnerable and open about dealing with my feelings that has sent a great example to them. I keep telling people it's not what you say that's going to be the most impactful thing if you're raising children. It's who you are. It's how they see you living your life and what you're doing. That's what they learn. They
Well,
learn from
and
the
how you reflect them back to them. You're that
Exactly.
mirror. I hear Dee Dee talk about that all the time. That basically you reflect who they are. So that when they say something, they need something. You respond to that, not
Yes.
making the translation into something else that you think they ought to have or ought to need. It's like,
Yeah.
and so they have an accurate mirror with you. There's many things about that, but one of them is you give them an accurate mirror, so they actually are seeing who they are, and because you're responding to who they really are, not to who they should be, or some way that the only parts of us that we can see you, and that is because of the work that you've done for sure.
Yep.
and the other
There.
thing that's really standing out in this for me is something I learned from Dr. Minuchin. Salvador Minuchin was one of the pioneers in family therapy, and I saw him give his
Mm-hmm.
retirement speech at the evolution of psychotherapy conference about 8 years ago in Anaheim. And what he said was so profound to me because it really resonated with what I started to see as a real truth. He says this whole idea that parents should always be supporting each other and agreeing and presenting a united front to the kids is a bunch of nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
He says what it does is it creates a pseudo mutuality. And the children that are exposed to that never know how to deal with what is real. Their
Mm-hmm.
internal sense of mind mapping gets confused, gets impaired, gets compromised. And he says, the greatest thing that I've learned now in these latter years of my life is that children need to be told the truth about what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
If one parent's wrong, the other parent has to have the courage to say, you know what, that's wrong. And not in a meanful or spiteful way, in just that this is the reality of what's going on. And that was hurtful. Your father shouldn't have said that to you, or your father shouldn't have done that, or whatever the case may be. That was wrong of you. That's not what a good parent would do. Forget the should part of it. I mean, I can say that without the should because I'm not into shoulding, but I am into saying what is and what isn't, and into being able to call out the reality. And I'll tell you, that's one of the things I've been holding on through this. I mean, you know me. I've been seeing therapists, and we even went to see a therapist to help us with co-parenting. And
Mhm.
I had to take her on because the stuff she was saying to me in terms of how to be, I mean, was so off base. And I realized, you know, the other thing I realized, Tom, there's not a lot of good therapists out there, man.
No.
There's few, unfortunately, there's few and far between that have really done their work and are in any way grounded in wisdom. And when you find one, hold on to them, baby.
Hmm.
They are
That's
priceless.
right.
And I'm fortunate, not only do I have a few in my life, but I have a lot of friends like that that are so
Yeah.
solid and rock solid and grounded in the reality. So, you know, for me, what this year has meant is really applying all these things that I've been teaching. It's given me an opportunity to try to find my ground in all of this and what it means to me, not blame myself to that this is my fault, not to get into what went wrong, but what I can do to focus on how to best show up in this situation that is terrible and devastating and not at all what I would have hoped for my life or for my kids' life. And you know, I'm a work in progress.
Hmm.
I'm still doing it. I'm
Yeah.
still working as hard as I can. I'm still dealing with it. I shared with Carol some of the stuff that happened this weekend in terms of
Hmm.
how I saw, you know, my ex dealing with Maddie's request for her to be here for her. And Jess said, no, I've got plans. I'm not going to be there for her. And this little
Hmm.
girl's crying her eyes out. Mommy, can't you?
Hmm. Hmm.
She just was unwilling to make her a priority. And unfortunately, that's what this whole thing has been about that blew up our family anyway. It's the same theme. And so now it's how to best deal with that. And you gave me some great tips, Carol, in terms of this thing. And I was pretty much along the lines of what you were saying, but it's always good to get that reinforced.
Sure. I do want to share with you. I think you're spot on about the parenting thing, the alignment. I actually addressed that with my folks as an adult and said, you'd had this united front, and I could never tell what was real. And so what I got back was, sorry, we didn't fight in front of you kids more. You know, they
Hmm.
missed the point, but it is a very important thing. Kids can't navigate what's going on if they don't have real touch points, if they can't, if it's, it was a whole environment of just guessing, mind reading and guessing what's going on. And if you're having your feelings, you learn that that's not okay if you get clobbered for it. So I want to affirm you too for creating an environment for your children to just be. You're showing an example of it in being yourself, but to, as Thom was saying, creating that environment where they're safe expressing themselves. That's just priceless. Doesn't
Yep.
get better than that. So I have really good faith that your kids are going to come out of this beautifully.
Well, I pray to God that that's from your mouth to God's ears.
Hmm.
to my behavior, right? That kind of a thing. So look, we bring this year to a close with, a lot of struggling and suffering and working and grinding and, digging deep. And Patrick, you've been through it too, man. I mean, your breakup with Maddie, the fact that you defied gravity.
The breakup with my patella. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, and they're both probably equally as painful. I mean,
Yeah, I'd say
they,
so.
they
But
both take some recovery. Do you want to say a few?
He did not successfully defy gravity.
Oh,
no.
his
He
attempt
he
to.
he,
His attempt
he attempted to, but no, he did not.
didn't
I
pull
had
it off
a
very
yeah.
well.
I fought the law and the law won. The law of
Right.
gravity.
I love it.
Kind of a reverse Icarus
Patrick, why
type
don't
thing.
you why don't you share a little bit and then we'll wrap this up. I've got to take my little one to a tea party.
Nice.
Well, first of all, that's super cool. Tea party. I mean, that's like a scene out of Alice in
It's
Wonderland.
gonna, it was mothers only, but I asked to be invited since my ex was unable to prioritize this for Cece, so I'll take her. And
Well, and
they
that's
allow
discrimination. The parent, it should be parents
they
only.
let they let
There
me
you
they're
go.
letting it. I'll be the only dad at the tea party, and I'm welcome.
Mhm.
But I'm
That's
Yeah.
not
great.
I'm not going to wear a dress. I refuse to.
Okay. All right.
Um, life is subpar, or it feels subpar. My interpretation of it is that like I am extremely dissatisfied and unhappy with the way things are unfolding, whether it's in my life or just life in general. And I don't know if it's the work that we've all been doing together or, and I'm positive that my recovery has a lot to do with it. But like, I'm never too far away from gratitude. And I do go into the next year with a lot of gratitude for my life and for the extent to which I could participate in all this stuff. Um, I'm just so grateful to have it, and I'm so grateful it's something I get to work on. And as far as bringing the best possible attitude, I have a ways to go. But I'm confident, or I'm heartened to have the examples of you guys to help guide me into just kind of being more in sync with reality and trying to marshal those internal and external forces to really like get some things done with the time that I have. So that's kind of like the prevailing attitude that I have going into 2024. I'm just happy to still be here because my health experience and your health experience, Tom, and all kinds of stuff. I'm very in touch with the fragility of life and kind of how we're here 1 minute and we're not the next. And I just want to hang around as long as I can. I want you guys to hang around because
Mm.
where there's life, there's hope. I do believe that.
Let me say this before we wrap it up because it really this really kind of brings it back to me and reminds me of some stuff that I think is very important and difficult, and that is that all of this stuff exists at once. It's not, is it good or bad? It's not the either or. Is it happy or sad? Is it this? It's all of these things. I have one nutshell that I wrote a long time ago, and I was amazed at how many people just hated it. That's not usually the response I get. But after a while, I realized older people liked it, younger people hated it. And it goes, I think I'm quoting myself correctly, but it says, my life is a great disappointment full of wonderful blessings.
Yes. Yeah.
I notice younger people go like, no, I don't want that. It's like, but it's the truth. It's all in there together. That might not be the best way for each person to say it, but it's like I had to come to terms with the fact that no, anybody can have a good day on a good day. It's like we're talking about, the reason when if you have the tough times, that's when we roll our sleeves up and work and learn. And if you're having just a good day that's coming easy, take the day off, man. Relax, and may there be many of those days in the new year.
I second that. Thanks for coming, Carol. And it's just
Thank
wonderful to see
you.
wonderful to see your faces again.
I love you guys very much.
And listen to all our audience members. Listen, thanks for being here with us this year, supporting the podcast. sending
Mhm.
notes about how meaningful it is for you, for us to be on. And our intention at this point is to keep going this next year and to keep the Thursday night meeting running on Thursday. And where everybody's so looking forward to you coming back, Thom. Come back as soon as it makes sense. But to everybody
Thank
out there,
you.
thank you for all that you've supported us and given us and hang on in with us this next year. And we
Yes.
have exciting things planned, and we're going to keep learning more and more about this wonderful thing called emotional sobriety.